Shalom Aleichem, everyone. We're continuing Hachzeg's learning of the Pele Yoetz. Today is day number 217. Another one-day chapter called Haida'ah, admission to the things that we have done wrong. On one hand, Haida'ah, what it means to extol and to admit, can be within the realm of shevach, of praising. You're giving Haida'ah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, praising Hashem. We already spoke about this in the chapter of Hillel, of praising, B'siyata d'Shemaya. But now I want to speak about the idea of admitting things and not being ashamed and embarrassed. There is a concept over here of turn away from the evil, from the bad. A person should admit when the sheker, when they lied or they hear things that are sheker. Sometimes his friend will speak about things that are false, and then he wants me to come along and testify on his behalf as if he did nothing wrong. And if you don't want to be mishaker, you don't want to say falsehood about him, and to release words of sheker, falsehood from your mouth, of lies, so what do? So he's asking to say something, or he's defending himself in front of others, and you don't want to support him, so you remain quiet. However, we know that Chazal teach us, when a person hears something that is false, and they remain silent, your silence is an admittance. And this is a terrible midah. You give strength to those that are committing sins. You also cause evil to your friend. He's relying upon you because you're quiet over here. So unfortunately, you have other people sometimes that are relying upon you, and they need you to come to their defense. And what do? You trade in your friendship and you trade in your amunah, your faithfulness to somebody else, because you don't say anything over here. Says the Pele Yoetz, be very careful. If there's sheker that is being said, you have to be an emes person, you have to be honest. However, says the Pele Yoetz, says Haida'ah, there is admitting things which is positive and good. When a person admits to the truth, a person needs this midah, this trait a lot. They need a lot of this. To be able to admit to the truth when you are wrong takes a big person. And specifically to Talmidei Chachamim, when they are engaged in the study of halacha, of learning what is the proper way to live. Take if they must umiyad, they must immediately accept the words of emes when they hear it. Even whoever said it, even if the smallest of the small people, a child, a Talmud, a student who's lesser than you, someone who's a much smaller Talmud Chacham than you, he says over it, it's the emes, is the truth. You must admit, do not be embarrassed to admit that this person is right and you are wrong, even in front of many people. Emes idcha, you say the truth is with you. With Ram Shamarti tells him beyond what I said is a mistake. Do not try to attempt to redeem yourself with wild ways in which you're trying to explain your position in this halach, in this gemara that you are learning. And to uphold your words and not the ones that you heard that are true. You love to win. You always have to be the winner over here. You'll take something which is straight and you'll make it crooked. A terrible destruction will come as a result of your insistence on not saying the truth. You'll end up permitting those things that are really asar. You can increase machlekes, fighting, and hatred, and your Torah will not be pleasing. Rahman al-Itzlan, Hashem should have mercy. Stay far away from such a kind of das, such a kind of way of thinking. And that's what a person should do. I'm here in this world for emes, especially if you're learning Torah. Torah is emes. Moshe emes, v'Torah emes. The Torah is kula emes. The Chodesh Baruch Hu's das is his mind. So you have to be searching for the truth. And therefore, if you hear someone say the truth, even though it's not the way that you understood the sugya, the way you learned up the Rashi, the way that you understood the Siman over there in Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't matter. If it's the emes, you have to acknowledge the emes. There's a beautiful Maisa that happened many, many years ago when I was learning in Eretz Yisrael. One of the great Magidei Shir, one of the great Talmidei Chacham Tzadikim of the yeshivas, Yaakov Moshe Kalevsky Zatzal. He was a giant, a goyin of Torah. He was gigantic. His lumdis, everything, it was just huge. Towards the last number of years of his life, his eyesight was very bad. Came out almost blind in both of his eyes. It was very difficult for him to see. And the only way that he was able to learn the Gemara, he couldn't read a regular size Gemara. We had to blow up the page of the Gemara 200 times the size. He had huge sheets in class with a very big magnifying glass on his glasses and a super high powered light that would shine onto the pages. And that's the way that he could read the Gemara. And it was still a struggle, but to watch that Mesiras Nefesh, he loved every word of Torah so much. He wanted to read everything. He was once giving a shir, and in the shir, somebody asked him what's called the Bam Kasha. They asked a major question on what he was saying. And he said, "That's a good question. I need to think about it." Now, Kalevsky was already older. It was not easy for him to look inside of Svarim and to learn, but the question bothered him, and so he spent the rest of that day, maybe the entire night, I don't know how long it was, working on a teretz, on an answer to the kasha that was asked him in class. He came into the shir room, he came into class the next day with a big smile on his face. He was very besimcha. He had worked on an answer, and he held that it was emes la'amito, it was the emes to answer this question. And he started off the shir by saying that he spent time and he worked and he worked and he worked, and he came up with a teretz, with an answer to this great question that the student had the day before. And then he told over with all of his mastery. He was a master. And how he would give over his shir, how he would give over, how he would explain things so clear. He gave it over with full mastery of the subject. And after he finished, and he was basking in the glory, so to speak, of all of the hard work that he put in, and he came up with this teretz, one of the Bachim raised their hands. And he said, "Rebbe, doesn't Rashi say not like that?" Now Rashi is the basic commentator on the Gemara, which everybody's learning Rashi on the Gemara. And Rabbi Kalevsky also did, but remember, it was very hard for him to see. So he said to the young man, "What does Rashi say?" And so the boy read the Rashi, and he explained why it was that Rashi was not saying like Rabbi Kalevsky was saying. Rabbi Kalevsky sat there and he thought about the Rashi, and he digested what it said, and he went back into his pshat and what he was saying in the Gemara. And Rabbi Kalevsky was an older man who was struggling with being able to see, and everybody knew that if he missed something, it's because he couldn't see so well. Rabbi Kalevsky said, "I'm not afraid to admit that you are right and I am wrong. You got the pshat and I did not get the pshat. Whatever I said before, I worked on, it's not true. You are correct." And later that day, Rabbi Kalevsky went to the father of that boy who was in the yeshiva, and he said, "Do you know what your son did to me? Do you know what your son did to me? He slugged me up. He proved that I was wrong in class. He got the right pshat." He wasn't embarrassed. He wasn't ashamed. He was proud that somebody understood the emes of Torah, and he was shown the emes, and he admitted to the emes of Torah. And that's what the Pele Yoetz is saying. If you believe in the emes of the Torah, and that is what you are seeking and you are searching, if somebody slugs you up, if somebody proves that you are wrong and that they have the right pshat, embrace it, because that's the emes. That's what we're here for, to understand what the Torah says. It's not the same thing by someone like we're pointing out who admits to the truth. Even though you might be ashamed and embarrassed in this world, soifs for 1 hour, for a moment, soif, mechazeh, shaka, yechezeh. At the end of the day, he's going to be able to see the vision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world and the world to come. Ulefi adas hayoshar, ein kan busha, ki kol adam kaizev. And the truth of the matter is, there's really not even a reason to be embarrassed. Because every person is kaizev, every person is deceitful, which means nobody has the emes all the time. Nobody sees what's actually always going to be the truth. So you made a mistake, so now you see the truth. So admit, what's the big deal? Is that embarrassing? Are you a supercomputer head? Are you a Malach Hashem? Are you an angel? Are you Moshe Rabbeinu? Are you the biggest Talmud Chacham in the entire world? You're bigger than the Vilna Gaon, so you make mistakes. So if you make mistakes in the way that you understood this particular Gemara or Halacha, whatever it might have been, that's okay, that's normal. Umatzino Bali Hashas, we find that the truth is, from the Amoraim and the Tanoim and Shasha, Yoimim Bifnei Rabbim, Mikal Adas Yisrael, they would say sometimes in public, in front of all the Jewish people, Devarim Shamarti Bivnechem, that which I said before you, To'os Heim B'yadi, it was a mistake. I thought that I said the truth. I thought about it later, and somebody showed me that I was wrong, and now I'm telling you I was wrong. And here's the way that you're supposed to learn it up. Were they embarrassed? No, because I'm seeking the emes. If I'm seeking the emes, I'm seeking the truth of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in His Torah. That's all that I want. And if I would chas v'chalila say something that is wrong, I wouldn't want you to understand the Torah in the wrong way. When the Rabbanan admit to their mistakes, that is their praise. Look at that great Talmud Chacham, look at that Rosh Hashiva, look at that Rav, look at that person that dying on the bed. He made a mistake and he admits it. Wow. What it takes to humble oneself in such a way, that's their praise. There's no greater midah trait than this. That's why. It's not for naught that every day in our davening we say, a person should always be Yer Shemayim. And they should admit to the truth. Because this is something that is in our hearts. And you need Yer Shemayim. In order for you to admit to the truth when it's battling inside of you, I don't want to admit the truth because it's going to make me look bad. When you have Yer Shemayim, when you have the fear of Hashem, and all you want to do is bring about the emes in this world, you'll be moed al emes, you'll admit to the truth. Someone who recognizes the truth and it's clear to his eyes, he judges people, and he sees someone that's not willing to be moed al emes, not willing to admit the truth. Then he says to himself, you know, why am I going to bother learning with this person? Why am I going to go back and forth to try to figure out what the halach is with him? He doesn't admit the truth. So I'm not going to learn with him and I won't learn from him. If a Rabbi is compared to a Malach Hashem, to an angel, as Torah then you learn Torah from him. It's a Malach Hashem, and a Malach doesn't have any ritzonos, any whims or any desires, any wants. He just wants the Ratzon of Hashem. And therefore, if your Rebbe just wants the emes, which is the Ratzon of Hashem, learn from him. Nevertheless, people that are shalem, that are complete in the avodas Hashem, this is their ways in the derech hakodesh, in the holy way of the holy way. When they see someone who does not admit the truth, like twist himself into knots over here, and he shows you things that are not true, meaning he's constantly trying to figure out a way that he can prove that he's right, and because he won't admit to the truth. They will never engage in the conversation with him to try to get him to admit the truth. Because someone who shouts a lot is going to wear them down, meaning I'm going to have to argue with this person again and again and again. He's not going to admit the truth anyway. He's an achshan. He's so stubborn. He is such a Baal Gaiva, so haughty. Why would I admit the truth? Because I can't. I'm too arrogant to admit that I'm wrong. And therefore, what's even the point of arguing? Rak manichim oisam itam tal mishugasam. They just leave him alone to be to dwell in their own mishugas, in their own foolishness. If there's a third sage that is over here, he'll be machri, he'll help to make the decision. Who's saying the emes, who's saying what's right. This is the way of Talmidei Chachamim, asher darkam derech yishar. Their way is straight. And straight is emes, and that's what a person is seeking. V'yesh minay dar acher, there's another kind of admittance. Sheyoyda ala sheloi toiv asa. I have to admit when I did something wrong. Av sheyover debush, even though it will bring me to embarrassment. Kamay she'asa Yehuda, like we find by Yehuda she'omar. Tzad can be made in Tamar, my daughter-in-law. She's right and I'm wrong. Yehuda, one of the Shiftei, one of the tribes. He's one of the sons of Yaakov. He's willing to admit that he's wrong in the face of all the people. He's willing to, because that's the way of a tzaddikim. V'yal zeh amar Rabbi Seinu Chazal teach us, kol oiver aveira, anyone who commits a sin, umizbayish, and they are ashamed, they're embarrassed, they'll be forgiven for all of their sins. Bush is gigantic. A little bush in this world, some embarrassment and shame in this world, it cleanses away all of the averas of a person. Never you have to admit to the truth because you did something wrong. And you're going to be embarrassed as a result of it. Be happy. Why? Because it cleanses the averas. So a person whose Yetzirah got the better of him, and he stole, or he caused damage to one of his friends in a private manner, and the friend has no idea. When he has to go and when it's found out, let him admit that he did the wrong thing, even though he's going to be embarrassed. Of course, he has to pay back the damages. With that, he will be appeased. The person will correct that which he did, that which he made crooked. He then redeems himself and he saves his soul from going all the way down to that world over there because he's a liar. He doesn't admit to his mistakes and he doesn't pay back what it is that he did wrong. A person has to be mechazik, strengthen themselves all the time in this area. To overcome the Yetzirah. And he has to reveal his imperfections. So he can be able to acquire his world in the world to come. It's better to be embarrassed and shamed in front of people in this world than to be embarrassed in the future. When you'll be embarrassed and shamed in front of hundreds of thousands of ministering angels in Shemayim. You want that? Eternal busha and shame that you won't be able to deal with it. Take the embarrassment in this world, says the Pele Yoetz. And if a person denies it, no, I'm a tzaddik. Me, I did anything wrong? Not me. And he refuses to admit over here. She's adding more sin onto his already sin. He causes bad and sinning to others. Because now they're going to be choshid. They are going to doubt other people. I mean, if I know that Reuben broke my window and he's not admitting to it, so now anyone that's even a kosher, anyone that's even a good person, if there was any chashash that they did something wrong, I'll suspect everyone of doing things. So this person who will not admit to the truth is causing that I can't trust anybody anymore. There's fires of machlekes that rise up because this guy broke my window, he stole my money, he did this, he did X, Y, and Z. He's not admitting to it, so the fires of machlekes are going to get huge. Many future bad things will happen as a result. And then at the end of the day, the person who denies saying the truth, he'll have to give a din v'cheshbon, have to give an accounting at the end of 120 years. And therefore a person has to think about what's going on. Strengthen yourself over the Yetzirah, which wants you not to admit because it wants to increase your gaiva and the like, but you really want to say the truth. The person who admits and abandons his sin, he's the one that will be forgiven. That's the one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has mercy and compassion on. And in Yetz Hashem, we have to have this midah, this trait of emes, exactly the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to be. All the best.